I handed my stepmother the most exquisite Mother's Day gift, and then silently watched her face twist in realization. My dad married Vanessa when I was 11. My mom had been gone 13 months. Melanoma, swift and merciless. One day, it was just a headache, and 82 days later, I was standing at her grave in a black dress that still had the tags on. Dad waited exactly a year before Vanessa arrived. She came from his firm, client relations naturally. Always picture perfect. Perfect teeth, blonde hair that never moved, the kind of woman who wears 4-inch heels to a neighborhood barbecue. She makes me happy again, Dad said with that gentle yet unshakable tone. I need you to try, Emily. So I did. I carried her boxes, designer heels replacing my mom's gardening clogs. I smiled when she replaced our family photos with abstract art and turned the vegetable garden into a meditation patio. For 3 years, I played the good daughter, polished, polite, and invisible. I showed up at her sleek corporate galas in the dresses she picked out for me. I tolerated her friends gushed over how graceful I was for a teenager. I buried my grief under perfect A grades and smiles so practiced they felt like masks. Dad didn't notice when I stopped laughing. He was too enthralled with Vanessa's social calendar and the new clients she brought in, too distracted by weekend spa retreats and wine tastings with people who called themselves visionaries. Meanwhile, I clung to Mom's old sweater at night until her scent faded completely, like she'd died all over again. Vanessa tried in her way. Lavish birthday gifts arrived each year, designer bags, spa vouchers, things I'd never asked for, but she loved giving. At dinner parties, she paraded me around as our daughter to CEOs and politicians who couldn't remember my name 5 minutes later. She started a college fund in my name, then made sure every guest at her table knew about her boundless generosity. But when I got my first period, it wasn't Vanessa or Dad who helped. It was Google that taught me what to do. And when I woke up sobbing from dreams about Mom's final days, it was our golden retriever who climbed into bed with me. Not them. The breaking point came during sophomore year. I finally felt alive again. I got the lead in our school play, my first spark of joy since Mom passed, but opening night clashed with Vanessa's precious charity gala. You'll need to miss the show, obviously, she said, eyes glued to her phone screen. The Richardsons are bringing their son. He's at Princeton. These things matter, Emily. Connections. Dad opened his mouth to argue, but one touch from Vanessa shut him down like clockwork. It's just a school play, he finally muttered. There'll be plenty more. I stormed upstairs and dug out the antique jewelry box Mom had left me, hands trembling. Inside, her wedding ring, a lock of my baby hair, and a journal I'd never dared touch, until now. I'd been too afraid to face her final words. That night, through burning tears, I read every page. It began sweetly. Hopes, memories, the motherly advice she'd never get to say aloud. But then came the last entry, dated 2 weeks before she passed, and everything changed. If you're reading this, Emily, you need to know about the safe deposit box. The key is taped to this cover. What's inside will change everything. I'm so sorry. It was a tiny silver key with the bank's name engraved along the edge. The next morning, I skipped school and walked straight into First National Bank. The manager knew me instantly. Mom's family had been clients for decades. Your mother said you'd show up one day, he said softly, guiding me to the vault. Inside, a USB drive, thick folders of documents, and a letter in Mom's unmistakable handwriting addressed to me. My dearest Emily, it began. By now, Vanessa has probably entrenched herself in your life. I've known about her for years. I read it once, then again, my hands trembling as the truth hit me. Mom had found out about Dad and Vanessa 6 months before her diagnosis. She'd secretly hired a private investigator who uncovered it all. Hotel receipts, flirty texts, photos of them tangled together while Mom was picking me up from soccer practice. The report was a masterclass in betrayal, meticulous and damning. Photos of Dad and Vanessa sneaking into hotels across 3 cities. Screenshots of their messages. Vile, selfish things that made my stomach lurch. She's taking Emily to her mother's this weekend. Come over. Can you imagine when we won't have to sneak around anymore? Sometimes I wish she'd just disappear. That one was from Dad. Sent 4 months before Mom got sick. I flipped through credit card records, showing fancy dinners at restaurants I couldn't even pronounce. On nights Dad swore he was stuck at the office. Receipts for jewelry I'd never seen. Pieces that never reached Mom's hands. A lease for a sleek downtown apartment that didn't exist in any of our household files. But that was only the surface. The files laid it bare. Dad and Vanessa had been funneling money, my inheritance, from Mom's trust into offshore accounts under false names. It was a long con, years in the making, just waiting for the right time to strike. Mom's family had built an empire, 3 generations deep, one of the city's most powerful investment firms. When she met Dad, he was just a hungry young advisor with a charming smile and big dreams. She brought him in, shaped his career, lifted him to partner, and he paid her back by betraying everything she stood for. That trust was her family's crown jewel, and I was meant to inherit it, until they rewrote the story behind my back. I found spreadsheets mapping out millions laundered through shellcore, fake clients, and financial smokescreens. The cash twisted its way through 12 countries, then vanished into faceless, numbered accounts. Dad's signature bled across every key document. Vanessa's was on most, sometimes side by side, like they were proud of it. The worst part, medical files that hinted Mom's illness might not have been random at all. Odd test results, bizarre prescriptions, private toxicology reports she had secretly ordered after she got suspicious. It started after our anniversary dinner, Mom wrote. At first just tired. Then the sickness grew. No one could explain the symptoms. I started keeping track. It always happened after meals David made just for me. Lab tests on her hair revealed sky-high levels of heavy metals, classic signs of slow, deliberate poisoning. Tests on food from our own kitchen, plus notes from 3 specialists, each baffled by how strangely her condition evolved. I can't prove it, she admitted. And by the time you read this, it won't matter for me anymore. But I had to protect you somehow. Her final words revealed a secret plan, a second trust in my name, the house, the firm, all mine on my 18th birthday. 2 weeks before she passed, Mom rewrote everything, quietly, with lawyers Dad never even knew about. I've made sure what's yours stays yours, she promised. The trustees will contact you when you turn 18, but if you're reading this now, you can reach them sooner. They're ready. They're ready whenever you are. I sat in that cold, private room for what felt like forever, absorbing truths that shattered everything I thought I knew. When I walked out, I wasn't the same girl who walked in. The grief that used to drown me hardened into something sharper, a purpose. I didn't storm home, didn't yell, I didn't run, didn't call the cops. I did something far more terrifying. I became their perfect little lie. For 2 straight years, I was flawless. I aced my classes, joined the clubs Vanessa pushed, and endured every soul-draining event she dragged me to. I wore their expectations like armor, said what they wanted, smiled when I had to, never let on that I knew everything. And every night I documented it all, their latest scams, lies, deals done in shadows. Every time Dad casually dropped a difficult client or complex strategy over dinner, I dug into the companies he mentioned, unraveling a maze of shell corporations and shady aliases. I built spreadsheets of my own, layering them over the meticulous groundwork Mom had started. My bedroom turned into a full-blown war room. I even installed a hidden safe behind my bookshelf, where I stashed backups of every damning piece of evidence. I recorded every whispered scheme at family dinners, every careless business chat they thought flew over my teenage head. I snapped photos of documents Dad left lying around like trophies, thinking his 16-year-old daughter was too naive to grasp their meaning. 6 months in, armed with enough intel to sink a hedge fund, I knew it was time to reach out to Mom's trustees. The envelope held 3 cards: a forensic accountant, a financial crime attorney, and a retired judge, Mom's father's old friend and her last line of defense. I met them at the judge's estate one Saturday, while my family thought I was at debate practice. I'd briefed them by phone, but watching their faces as they read the files was a whole other level of gravity. The accountant shut his eyes for a long beat, like trying to block out the sheer scale of the fraud. The lawyer muttered a curse and reached for her pen. The judge just stared, part sorrow, part righteous fury. "Your mother was extraordinary," he said softly. "So what do you want to do with all this, Emily?" I'd rehearsed my options over and over in my head. I could have blown it all up, sent them both to jail before dinner. I could have disappeared and waited to reclaim my legacy quietly at 18. I could have gone scorched earth, confronted them, and let the fallout burn. Instead, I chose Mom's path: cold, deliberate justice served with strategy. "I want to learn it all," I told them. "Business, law, finance. I want to know exactly how to take it all back. I want to be unstoppable when the time comes." The judge simply nodded. "Your mother said you'd choose this. We have instructions if you did." For the next year and a half, I led a double life like something out of a thriller. By day, I was Vanessa's golden girl, picture perfect for dinner parties and Instagram photos. But 3 nights a week, I disappeared into study group. That was really Black Ops training with my secret team. The accountant taught me to read numbers like a language, to spot lies in spreadsheets and map fraudulent webs like a forensic maze. The lawyer schooled me in corporate warfare, contracts, legal angles, loopholes I could eventually weaponize. The judge opened his network: bankers, regulators, insiders who hated what Dad had done to Mom's legacy. They'd all admired Mom, and they were ready to help undo the rot that followed her death. Behind the scenes, I worked with Mom's lawyers to lock in everything: the trust, the case, the blueprint. I graduated at 16, early, polished, dangerous. Dad and Vanessa beamed with pride, their little genius, off to Yale on a scholarship. What they didn't know? I'd been quietly studying Dad's empire, his shadow accounts, fake entities, every lie they thought I couldn't see. "We're so proud of you," Dad said, raising his glass at my tiny graduation party. Just family and a handful of their rich, shallow friends. No one from school, no one who actually knew who I really was. "You've outdone yourself," Vanessa said, arm locked around me for the staged photo op. "Yale early admission. The board is buzzing about your future here," she added. I smiled sweetly, knowing in under 2 years I'd be running that boardroom. That summer, Vanessa dropped the bomb. She wanted to adopt me. "You're my daughter in every way that matters," she said, fingers brushing my cheek at some overpriced lunch spot. "Let's make it official before you head off to college." I studied her face for something, anything, real. But all I saw was calculation behind her smile and a glance at Dad that said this was strategy, not sentiment. This wasn't about love. This was about power. A legal daughter would solidify her grip on the company if Dad ever stepped aside. I hugged her tightly, whispering, nothing would make me happier, while planning my next move. "We should celebrate," Dad said, signaling the waiter like a man sealing a deal. "Maybe the Hamptons," he added, already dreaming of bragging rights. "Let's invite the Prestons, their sons at Harvard Law," Dad suggested, like we were casting a reality show. "Perfect," I smiled, already thinking about the file I had on their failing tech company and the suspicious cash injection it got from one of Dad's shell companies last spring. That night, I called an emergency session with the team. We met in Judge Henderson's oak-paneled study, while Vanessa thought I was giggling over cake at a friend's sleepover. "They want me to sign adoption papers," I told them. Could that mess with the plan? The lawyer laid out papers, like we were about to play a very serious, very dangerous game of chess. "This might actually help us," she said. "Adoption triggers mandatory financial disclosures. We'll get a fresh map of their finances. And your mom's trust? Untouchable. How close are we? I asked, holding my breath. The accountant pushed up his glasses. We've traced 67% of the stolen funds across 4 countries into real accounts. It's enough to bring them down, he added. Hard. What about your mother's illness? The judge asked softly. That part still twisted something in me. Dad might not have just cheated her. He might have killed her. The specialists couldn't say murder, not outright, but the pattern screamed foul play. We hold that for later, I said. One battlefield at a time. As I was packing up, the judge handed me a small, wrapped box. Your mother said to give you this when the time came, he said. Inside was a vintage Mont Blanc pen. My grandfather's. She used this to sign her first acquisition, the judge explained. She wanted you to have it when you were ready to reclaim everything. I carried that pen like armor, a weapon, a promise in ink and silver. 2 weeks later, it was Mother's Day. Vanessa always turned it into a pageant. Lavish brunches, staged mother-daughter photos for Instagram likes. This year, a garden party for 30 of her nearest, most superficial friends. The adoption reveal was her grand finale. I spent that week perfecting my gift, up late in my room compiling evidence, sorting receipts, building the most damning scrapbook ever created. The irony stung. It was the only gift I'd ever given her, and it was flawless. The morning broke with golden sunshine, perfect for Vanessa's picture-perfect charade. By 7 a.m., the caterers, florists, and decorators descended, turning our backyard into a sterilized magazine-worthy venue. Nothing like the wild garden Mom once nurtured. I found Vanessa drowning in silk and indecision in her dressing room. Which one? She asked, holding up 2 nearly identical cream dresses. Dior or Chanel? Chanel, I replied, watching her discard the Dior I'd touched first. She hated second picks. I have something for you, I said, handing over a box wrapped in silver ribbon and silence. Oh, you didn't have to, she gasped, surprise almost believable. We both knew I'd never given her anything before, at least not with a bow. I wanted to, for today, I said, voice smooth as ice. She went to set it aside. I'll open it later for the guests. It'll be more special. No, I said calmly. Now, it's personal. My tone stopped her. She studied my expression, then reached for the box. Inside, a custom-bound book. The cover shimmered gold. A daughter's gratitude. Oh, Emily, she breathed, expecting Pinterest-worthy photos and mushy captions. Her hands shook slightly as she cracked it open. Page 1. Mom, radiant and healthy, smiling wide, before any of this began. What is this? She asked, voice sharp now. Keep reading, I said softly. It only gets better. Each page peeled back another layer, receipts, statements, toxicology reports, meticulously annotated in my tidy handwriting. I watched her face melt from confusion to horror, from arrogance to panic. By the time she hit the chapter on the trust fund theft, her mascara was slipping, sweat dotting her perfect brow. This is absurd, she whispered, but her hands wouldn't stop turning pages. The final chapter detailed the restructured trust, lawsuits already filed, and a meeting on the books with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, set for tomorrow morning. Those offshore accounts you and Dad built? I said casually, perched on her vanity, like we were chatting about brunch. Not as invisible as you thought. 17 countries signed transparency pacts in the last 5 years. And those wire transfers? They come with timestamps. Match them to your GPS history and, well, it's not pretty. Her face went pale. Foundation couldn't hide that kind of fear. You and Dad are going to love the terms I'm proposing, I added, still smiling as the doorbell rang. They beat prison by a mile. She jolted up, sending her mimosa crashing to the carpet. You ungrateful little, she hissed. Careful, I said, low and calm. Your friends are downstairs. and I haven't ruled out reading them. Chapter 3. Her eyes flicked to the page. Screenshots of her texting Dad during Mom's final week. Messages whining about visiting hours ruining their dinner plans. "What do you want?" she asked, fingers trembling as she adjusted her dress. "You'll go downstairs, smile, host, be perfect," I told her. "Then tomorrow at 9 a.m., you and Dad will meet me at Judge Henderson's. We'll talk freedom, if you're lucky." Her eyes scanned the room, looking for a door, a window, an escape that didn't exist. "This is blackmail," she spat. "Wrong," I said. "This is justice, with a little mercy, if you deserve it." I walked to the door. "You've got 30 seconds. Wipe your face, smile, they're waiting." The party dragged on for 3 excruciating champagne-drenched hours. Vanessa smiled through gritted teeth, hands trembling, eyes dead. I played the loving daughter to perfection, raising my glass to her influence while layering in barbed compliments that only she could feel. "Emily's been a blessing," Vanessa cooed to Mrs. Henderson. "She's like my own daughter." "And Vanessa's taught me so much," I added, locking eyes with her. "About loyalty and consequences." Mrs. Henderson blinked, clearly sensing the tension but too polite to ask. "You two are obviously perfect for each other," she said kindly and cluelessly. Dad texted to say golf had run long. Just as well. His copy of the book, with exhibits tailored to his crimes, was waiting in his office. The guests trickled out, showering Vanessa with compliments, and me with fake admiration for my Yale acceptance. I stood next to her at the door, hugged by perfume-clouded women, and shaking hands with men who'd known Grandpa, but forgot I existed. "Is Cass okay?" one of Dad's colleagues asked. "She seems on edge." "Oh, she's just overwhelmed," I said smoothly. "This adoption, it means the world to her." Once the final guest left, Vanessa vanished upstairs. 20 minutes later, I found her throwing jewelry into a suitcase like it was a crime scene. "Planning a trip?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. She spun around, clutching diamonds like they could save her. "You can't prove any of this. It's all circumstantial," she snapped. "Tell that to the FBI or the SEC," I shrugged. "They've got someone parked outside, been there 3 days, run if you want, they're ready." It was all bluff, no agents yet, just strategy and fear, and Vanessa bought it. She collapsed onto the bed, suitcase gaping open like her panic. "What happens now?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "Now?" I said. "We wait for Dad, then we negotiate." Dad came home an hour later, calling for Vanessa with forced cheer. I met him at the door, his present clutched in both hands. "Where's Cass?" he asked. "How was the party?" he added, loosening his tie like nothing was wrong. "She's upstairs," I said. "But first, this." I watched emotion after emotion flicker across his face as he flipped through page after incriminating page. Unlike Vanessa, he shut down completely. The lawyer in him went into damage control. When he finally looked at me, his face was stone. "Where did you get this?" "Mom," I said. "She left it all. And very clear instructions." Something like pain flickered in his eyes, but he buried it fast. "Emily, whatever you think you know, just know it's backed up in triplicate and stashed in vaults you don't even know exist." I cut him off. "Including the evidence about Mom's illness. The part that suggests this goes beyond just money." His face turned ghost pale. "You don't really believe I poisoned her," he said, voice cracking. "I don't know," I said. "But the evidence? Strong enough to open an investigation, if I decide to make that call." He closed the book slowly, like it might detonate in his hands. "What do you want?" he whispered. "Same deal I offered your wife. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Judge Henderson's office. We'll talk terms, how to stay out of prison." That night, after the last guest left, I found Vanessa in the old garden, now stripped of wildflowers, drowned in sterile white patio furniture she thought looked elegant. "Why now?" she asked the dark. "Why wait so long?" I sat next to her, straightening my hem. Mom taught me patience. I needed to know everything before I moved. What do you want? She asked quietly. I'd played this moment in my head for 2 years, thinking I'd feel triumphant, powerful. But staring at the woman who helped destroy Mom, I felt nothing, just empty. Dad signs the company over to me, through the trust Mom set up. You both resign, publicly, but stay on as consultants, under me. The stolen money goes back to the trust. In return, I don't hand your lives to the FBI. She let out a bitter laugh. You're 16. You can't run anything. I'm almost 17. And I've had Mom's team training me for this since before you showed up. I heard Dad's heavy steps crunch across the patio stones. Vanessa gripped the armrest like it was a lifeline. He'll never agree to this. I stood, adjusting the necklace Mom left me. He already did. Check your phone. While we sat there, he'd read his own copy of the gift I'd crafted. His reply to her was simple. She knows everything. He walked out onto the patio, face worn down by truth and fear. You didn't have to blow it all up, he said. You could have come to me directly. Like Mom did, I asked. When she confronted you about the affair? Or the trust? How'd that work out for her? Silence. He had nothing. This company is about relationships, he tried again. Client loyalty. If you force us out. Already handled, I cut in. Mom's original team is ready to return. Most of them never trusted you. They stayed for her. Vanessa turned to him, eyes narrowed. You said they backed you, that they were loyal. He lied, I told her. Like he lied about the prenup you signed, the one that leaves you penniless if you cheat. Her head jerked toward him. What prenup? The one I've read, I said. Along with emails and hotel bills from your little affair with Ryan Donahue? You really thought those hotel charges wouldn't flag in the audits? Her face went paper white. Dad's face twisted from confusion to fury in seconds. You told me that was over, he snarled. It is, she snapped, but her eyes flicked away. Emily's manipulating you, she shouted. No, I said, standing. That's your thing. I prefer direct hits. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late, and don't try to run. I've got eyes on the property. I turned and walked away, their frantic whispers slicing the night behind me. In my room, I called Judge Henderson to confirm, then sent the full dossier to my trustees with a note. Release everything if I don't check in by noon. Sleep was impossible. I listened to the chaos, raised voices, breaking glass, a door slammed hard. At 3 a.m., I heard the engine turn over. A car pulled away into the night. By sunrise, the house was dead quiet. I dressed with intention, the navy suit Mom bought me for debate finals, her pearl earrings, minimal makeup, serious, ready. When I came down, Dad was slumped at the island, still in yesterday's clothes, hands wrapped around cold coffee. Where's Vanessa? I asked, though I already knew. Gone, he muttered. Took her car and her jewelry, left the phone, no tracking. I planned for this scenario. It complicates things, I said. But it doesn't derail anything. She was never the main player. He looked up, eyes bloodshot, hollow, like something inside him had caved in. You look like her, he murmured. Your mother, when she was fighting for something she believed in. The words landed like a double-edged blade, comforting and cruel at once. Let's go, I said, standing. Judge Henderson doesn't tolerate lateness. The meeting was swift, cold, clinical, complete. Dad, drained of his usual bravado, signed everything. Power of attorney, voting rights, a clean resignation. Judge Henderson walked him through it all. His tone was flat, but his eyes, frost-bitten. These terms only stand if you fully cooperate with the financial recovery team, the judge said. Hide anything, stall the process, and the charges go active, he added, without blinking. Dad nodded like a machine. No fight left. The announcement will follow the prepared script, the judge continued. A smooth succession plan honoring Catherine's legacy. Another dull nod. Sign here, and here, Initial these. Once everything else was inked, Judge Henderson slid one final document toward him. This agreement bars you from contacting Emily directly until she turns 18, he said. All communication must be filtered through my office or the trustees. Dad jolted upright. What? She's my daughter. You can refuse, I said calmly. But then I released the medical evidence. His hand trembled as he signed, like each letter cut into his soul. He set the pen down. Mom's Mont Blanc. I brought it just for this moment. His shoulders dropped, and just like that, he looked 20 years older. Can I explain? He asked, barely more than a whisper. I've already read your explanations. In your emails to Vanessa, in the board memo where you labeled me a symbolic successor with no real authority. I understand perfectly, actually. Judge Henderson closed the folder. Your car's waiting to take you to the hotel, he said to Dad. You'll return next week, supervised, to collect what's yours. As he rose, he paused beside me. Your mother would be proud, he said. I couldn't tell. Was it praise or a warning? I know, I said. That was all. 2 months later, I sat where Dad once ruled, at the head of the table, his office now mine. The press ran with the narrative, family succession, honoring legacy, the youngest female CEO in the industry. Dad stayed on, as a figurehead only, bound by contracts so tight they tracked every cent and every word. He got to keep the house, the status, and his freedom. In return, I claimed what was mine, plus quarterly reviews where I dissected every part of his professional life, line by line. My trustees became my leadership team, guiding every decision as we cleaned up the mess Dad left behind. I postponed Yale, trading the Ivy League for a real-world MBA right inside the firm Mom helped build. 3 weeks after she vanished, Vanessa reappeared in Miami. The FBI caught her red-handed trying to access one of the offshore accounts we'd already traced. She spent 48 hours behind bars before Dad's lawyers scrambled to secure her release, on the condition that she cooperate, fully and loudly. She was sent back to Connecticut on a leash, under surveillance, tucked into a company-owned condo, and given a glorified assistant title with zero actual power. That prenup I mentioned turned out to be eerily prophetic. Dad filed for divorce, citing the perfect legal combo: abandonment and adultery. She walked away with exactly what we'd allowed, and not a penny more. She resisted, of course, threatened to blow the whistle, until our legal team reminded her she'd be suspect number 1. It wasn't justice for Mom. Nothing ever could be. But it was the beginning of what she always wanted for me, my future in my own hands, her legacy untouchable, and those who betrayed her finally held accountable. Quietly, I kept digging for definitive proof about what really happened to Mom. I hired forensic experts to reanalyze preserved tissue samples. I sent untouched items from her vanity for toxicology screening. I tracked down and interviewed every nurse and doctor who'd treated her. The results? Still maddeningly inconclusive. Plenty of suspicion, not enough to light a match. Dad denied everything about that part, even in closed-door meetings where he confessed to everything else. It was real, he insisted. I never touched her meds, never poisoned her food. Did I want her gone? Yes, I prayed for it, but I didn't make it happen. I didn't know if I believed him. Part of me needed him to be guilty of it all, every drop of darkness, a total monster I could destroy without flinching. But another part of me clung to the hope that he hadn't crossed that one final line, that maybe, just maybe, a sliver of the father I loved still existed. The company thrived under new hands. We dismantled Dad's tangled web, recovered millions, and rebuilt client trust from the ground up. I lived in that office, 16-hour days, crashing on the couch more than my own bed. As for home, that house hadn't felt like one in years. I sold it 6 months after taking over and moved into a quiet apartment downtown, walking distance from my future. Dad downgraded to a modest house in the suburbs, exiled from his clubs and friends once our polished press release, thinly veiled, made clear he was ousted. Last week I returned to Mom's grave, for the first time since opening her letter. I did it, I whispered, laying wildflowers on her stone. The company's secure, your legacy's alive. I just wish you could see it. As I turned to go, I saw her, watching from across the cemetery. Vanessa, holding a small, sad bouquet. Our eyes met. She didn't speak, just gave a single nod, then turned and disappeared. Some lessons take years to land, and some gifts echo long after the ribbon's untied. Every Mother's Day, I send Vanessa the same gift. A photo of Mom, laughing in her garden, with a note that simply says, "Thinking of you today." She's never replied, but I know she gets the message. It's the only language left between us, and the only one that matters.